For those who have business with this court, Petronian, and you shall be heard. Case 371, Science versus God. You may be seated.
Will the court come to order? Now, Miss Prosecutor, I notice that you and your witnesses are here before the trial today. But where, may I ask, is the defendant and his counsel?
Your Honor, we, the prosecution, have tried to contact the defendant on numerous occasions to appear before this court.
Has the defendant been subpoenaed?
We have attempted. However, he could not be found. Here are the unsigned documents.
Oh.
So there, Your Honor, the defendant's chair sits empty. It is apparent that the defendant, God, has refused to appear before this court at the behest of my clients, prestigious members of the scientific community, who wish to silence once and for all the ludicrous acclamations that a supreme being exists. We simply cannot tolerate superstitious religious sentimentality to follow us into the 21st century.
Well, in light of the fact that the defendant, to it God, does not appear before the court today, the court has no choice but to grant a verdict of guilty. God, guilty of non-existence.
Wait.
Step closer. And who are you?
And the defense counsel for God.
Defense counsel, might I remind you that your defendant, or your, God, is not present before us today.
I am aware that it might appear that way to some people.
Then how do you propose to defend someone who apparently does not exist?
How does someone defend the existence of air solely on the principle of sight? You can't see it, or taste it, or smell it.
Objection! The defense is evading the real issue. Can he produce God, or merely hot air?
Objection sustained. Now, defense counsel, are you prepared to prove the existence of God in this court of law?
Yes, I most certainly am.
Very well. Now, Ms. Prosecutor, you may present your case.
Thank you. Prosecution calls as its prime witnesses Professor Simpleton and Dr. Fullifit to the witness stand.
Professor Simpleton, Dr. Fullifit, please take the stand.
Professors, raise your right hands. Do you both swear that the testimony you are about to give is truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help you God?
Objection! The very purpose of this trial is to establish whether or not a God in fact exists. Therefore, the use of the term God is in direct conflict with the interests of my clients.
What?
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before we begin, for the edification of the jury, I would like to present the evidences as displayed on this table. We have numerous charts, bottles of chemicals, numerous volumes of science textbooks, and a model of the known universe.
The court is noted. Please proceed.
Thank you. Dr. Fullifit, will you please describe to the court the events that led up to the creation of the universe? Events that are substantiated by a multitude of scientific test data and research?
Gladly. Picture yourself, if you will, before the beginning of time, when all the matter in the universe came to concentrate in a single point at a high energy and heat. Suddenly, it exploded, from which into a superheated subatomic particles, from which atoms, galaxies, planets, and life itself came.
Thank you, Dr. Fullifit. Now for a few words from Professor Simpleton.
Professor Simpleton.
Okay. Life itself has been said to have evolved from a primitive cell through an evolutionary process called natural selection. And lower species have adapted in genes to form higher species. These facts have been thoroughly researched and approved by some of the greatest scientific minds in history, most notably Charles Darwin.
Thank you, professors. Now, in all of this scientific investigation, has any scientist, including yourselves, at any point of time, found evidence of a supreme living creator? A god, if you will?
A god? Well, heavens no.
Come to think of it, we couldn't even find heaven.
That will be all, Your Honor.
Defense counsel, your witnesses.
No questions at this time.
Not even a single question, Counselor?
Well, since the counselor demands so eagerly to see God, I would like to request the counselor herself be entered as my first witness.
Objection, Your Honor! That is a preposterous idea unheard of!
Well, the prosecution may choose to decline if she so desires.
On second thoughts, that will not be necessary, Your Honor. I accept, for I know the defense has no case and is merely bluffing.
Very well, please take the stand.
Now, before we begin, I would like to request that there be complete darkness in the courtroom.
Complete darkness? This is insane, Your Honor! What possible relevance could darkness have to this trial?
Defense counsel, is there some judicial purpose to this, how shall I say, quirky escapade of yours?
Why, certainly, Your Honor. I intend to show that directly.
Very well, let's see that you do. Bailiff, you may turn off the lights.
Now, Miss Prosecutor, can you see me?
With all the lights out? Forgive me if I do not answer your ridiculous question.
It's a rather simple question. Can you see me?
Just answer the question, Counselor.
Your Honor, I refuse to allow the defense to
Answer the question, Counselor.
No, I do not.
Could you repeat that a little louder so that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury can hear?
No, I cannot.
Aha. And yet, you say, show me God. I've just demonstrated to you how limited your capacity of seeing actually is. Why? We can't even see the stars in the daytime, nor atoms, nor gravity, yet they exist. And we cannot disprove the existence of a supreme being who lives in a dimension beyond our imperfect senses. That would be all.
Bailiff, you may turn back the lights on.
Your Honor, there is no point in continuing with this ridiculous charade.
Defense Counsel, it's customary to cross-examine the witnesses, isn't it, sir?
Oh yes, I must certainly agree. The defense counsel at this time calls Professor Simpleton to the stand.
Dr. Simpleton, please take the stand.
Professor Simpleton, you stated that life comes from chemicals and evolves through a system of natural selection. Correct, Charles Darwin, am I right?
Correct.
Ah, very well. I am taking this book from the table of evidence here, and I would just like if you could possibly read this one sentence for me.
Okay. To suppose that the eye with all its inimitable contrivances for adjusting the focus for different distances and admitting different amounts of light could have been formed by natural selection seems, I freely confess, absurd in the highest degree. Who wrote this?
Prosecution demands to know the source of this most unscientific remark.
Yes, very unscientific. Please, just read the author's names right there on the cover.
Charles Darwin? I can't believe this.
Ah, Charles Darwin himself. Yes, Professor, you just read an excerpt from The Origin of Species, written by Charles Darwin himself. When come to think of it, how does something such complex as the eye evolve? Why, wouldn't it necessitate that all those intricate parts be created at the same point in time? Wouldn't that require some intelligence from somewhere or someone?
Move to strike calls for speculation on part of the witness.
Motion granted.
Speaking of speculations, Dr. Simpleton, did you not say that somewhere in this process of natural selection that lower species just kind of evolved into higher species?
Yes.
Correct? Correct. So, if then, this is true, then why is there species existing side by side, apes and man? Why has there never been a human born from a monkey?
Because it is so simple actually. Only some members of various species evolve. Most of them remain consistent with their ancestors. This is technically called random variation.
Oh, yeah, random variation, very clever. So, but has any process in the laboratory ever produced anything from this random variation? No, not one proof exists. Only theories, bogus theories. No more further questions.
Professor, you may step down.
Until the defense produces hard evidence in his favor, my client's testimony stands undefeated that the universe was created by an explosion and that life evolved from chemicals through a process of natural selection.
In rebuttal to the prosecutor's remark, the defense would like to enter into evidence Exhibit B.
Very well. What seems to be a problem, Counselor?
Oh, it's just a little stuck here. Just a minute. Got it. Calm down. This is just a little stage prop. Nothing to get alarmed about, please.
Unless you have a real good reason, I mean an excellent reason for pulling such a improbable stunt, I'm going to have you sentenced for contempt of court. Now, do you understand, Counselor?
I most certainly do. And there is a very good point why I brought this into display. Why I had to enter into the element of surprise to prove my point.
And what point might that be? That you are a lunatic, far crazier than we first imagined? How can you justify frightening all of us like this?
Why were you so afraid? In fact, why was anybody afraid? Why, Dr. Fulton over there practically jumped out the window.
I can do it.
So, the prosecutor and our illustrious scientists over there would like us to believe that explosions create logic, order, and a serene, very balanced universe. But ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you can plainly see the only thing that explosions can create is fear, destruction, chaos. And besides that, this Big Bang theory necessitates the beginning with something to explode. Where did that something come from? Where? And believe it or not, this propounded theory from these atheistic scientists is taught in all of our major colleges and universities, and nobody is questioning it. Nobody until now.
How dare you stand there and attack established academic institutions of science? Why, these theories taught in universities...
Oh, now you say theories yourself.
They are an accumulation of centuries of investigation and form the very root of this nation's technological heritage. The audacity of such a challenge.
Well, I'm not challenging the entire scientific community. Why, science has come up with very wonderful discoveries, iPods, iPads, mopeds, this, that. Oh my. No, my challenge is just really with the atheistic scientists who deny the existence of a supreme intelligence behind this wonderful creation.
Where is the supreme intelligence of yours? Where? Your God has not shown himself yet.
Perhaps my next witness will alleviate all your doubts then.
Finally.
Your Honor, I would like to now call the President of the United States.
Objection, Your Honor!
Overruled.
I strenuously object, Your Honor!
And I strenuously overrule, Counselor. The defense may choose to invite the President if he so desires.
Your Honor, we are all quite aware that it is virtually impossible for the President of the United States to personally attend these proceedings. Why, he's much too important.
Well, yet he hasn't appeared, so I must assume he doesn't exist.
The President, sir, does indeed exist.
Oh, well, I don't see him. He hasn't appeared yet. And yet you demand to see God, or have God face the charges of non-existence? And you think that the President even deserves better treatment than God himself?
This has gone far enough, Your Honor.
Frankly, I find this rather fascinating. So let's continue.
I wonder if it ever occurred to the prosecution that maybe the reason the President didn't appear wasn't because he's too important or because he's too busy, but maybe I just never developed a real personal relationship with him.
Personal relationship? What nonsense is this?
Well, if I'd given him a couple $1 million for his last campaign, maybe he would have been more inclined to come here on my behalf tonight. Would he not?
Well, under those circumstances, I suppose.
So, wouldn't the same thing apply to God if we act more favorably to him? Would he not be more inclined to reveal himself to us?
Unlike God, the President is a person.
Oh, I'm a person. You're a person. But he who created all of us can't be a person? Can the Creator be anything less than his creation?
Your Honor, prosecution would like to note that we have presented various facts to support our position.
Facts? You call the biased testimony of these witnesses facts?
Might I remind you two combatant lawyers that it's the jury's duty to determine who's presented the facts. Now let us continue.
Now I'd like to ask Dr. Fulvent to the stand, please.
Dr. Fulvent, please take this.
Now, Doctor, you stated earlier that all chemical matter was bunched together in a ball, and then all of a sudden there was an accidental explosion creating life. These were your very words, were they not?
Yes, that is correct.
My God. So, all of life comes from chemicals. So, would you be so kind as to demonstrate to us how that happens?
You wish for me to create something now?
Why not? This is your theory, then prove it. Just come over here and grab some of these wonderful looking things, these different chemicals, mix them together, and make something, anything, a leaf, an ant, or even one little grain of rice.
Counselor, are you not aware that scientists are cloning animals by breaking down the codes of DNA molecules, which are the very building blocks of life?
And you talked about accidental. Now you're talking about codes.
I am aware of what I spoke. Now, you're trying to juggle words and make me more and more confused.
That doesn't seem very difficult. But actually, are you then suggesting that there are accidental codes? Or, how shall I say?
Very soon, scientists will have
Oh, no, not very soon. Please, no post-dated checks from the scientific community today. Thank you very much. Just answer the question. Can you produce life?
No, we cannot.
Thank you. Your Honor, you can plainly see these scientists have failed to produce any evidence to prove the point of their wild, fantastical theories.
Professor, you may step down.
Speaking of failure, the defense, like some cheap magician, has used every trick at his disposal to try and impress the jury.
These tricks, as prosecution refers to them, were necessary to focus on the very point that there's no reason and logic to these explanations given by these illustrious scientists.
Your Honor, prosecution grows weary and calls for the defense to produce one concrete witness to refute the testimony of our distinguished professors.
Defense counsel, do you have any real witnesses to produce before the court today?
Not at this time, but there is one more thing I'd like to do. The defense would like to enter into evidence this model of the universe as defense's exhibit number 2.
I strongly object to this request, Your Honor.
Any reason in particular, Counselor?
Isn't it obvious that the defense is only stalling for time? He is blatantly trying to confuse and wear down the jury in hopes that they will give into his twisted logic.
Please, calm yourself, Miss Prosecutor. Just relax. And that's an order. Now, I understand your feelings, but I'm willing to give the defendant all possible latitude to produce his evidence in his case of defending God. After all, he's trying to defend God.
Thank you, thank you.
Defense counselor, just what does this model have to do with the case at hand?
Well, actually, this is a very interesting model. It was in Sir Isaac Newton's possession in 1704.
Is that all? Do you see, Your Honor, the futility of the defense's ludicrous strategy?
Will the prosecution remain calm?
I demand the defense to reveal the reason, if any, as to why this model reminds it so much of the one built by Sir Isaac Newton.
I did not say that it was built by Sir Isaac Newton.
Oh, you most certainly did.
I most certainly didn't. I said it was in his possession at the time in his laboratory. And actually, he himself said that this model came about by an accidental explosion in his laboratory.
An explosion? Stop insulting my intelligence. Newton must have been joking.
Sir Isaac Newton joking? Why? Why, Counselor?
Because this is crazy.
Crazy? Now you're calling Sir Isaac Newton crazy?
If you insist.
So, you think that because there's some accidental explosion in a laboratory, it doesn't prove that how can one explain that? Therefore, in a larger sense, can anybody actually believe that this whole gigantic universe of ours was created by chance?
It is crazy!
But you say that this explosion in the laboratory is occurred by chance.
An explosion? Stop insulting my intelligence, defense counselor. It is not possible for an explosion to produce the model of the universe. It's impossible!
Go ahead. Say the next word.
Yeah, please finish your sentence, Counselor.
Oh, maybe I can finish it for you. Impossible. Was that the word you were looking for? Impossible? Yes. So since it was so impossible to believe that this explosion created this model, how can any intelligent person believe that this gigantic, wonderful universe of ours was also created by chance? Explosions, chemical mixtures, monkey business, random variations, unsubstantiated theories. the best we can expect from the deep, fertile minds of our scientists of today? And come to think of it, who created those fertile minds in the first place? And finally, Your Honor, just as in this court of law, behind every law, there is a lawmaker. Then why not accept that there may be a supreme, wonderful, universal lawmaker behind all the intricate and wonderful universal exhibits here in our sphere of activity? That's all, Your Honor. The defense rests its case. Hare Krishna!
Very well. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the testimony from both the defense as well as the prosecution. Now it is up to all of you to reach a verdict in these matters. We eagerly await your decision. The court is now adjourned.